trade at all. And oftentimes, one missed attack to the face can be the whole difference in the series. And in particular, I think that the Tempo Mage Mirror is a really...
We're 10 steps away from an Aston Martin, and we're getting off to a Zoolock Mirror to start off. Thijs has Prince Kaliseth and had the decision to keep Tar Creeper, but I think he wants more 1-drops than that. And xiaOt doesn't look like he has the most, beneficial hand, especially being on the play, is going to really need to find a 1-drop here.
He does get it, and it is a 1-drop that is not ideal, this Kobold Librarian, but it can at least challenge what might be a coin Kaliseth from Thijs. In fact, if Thijs draws a 1-drop, I might expect him to just hold back on the Kaliseth for a bit, because if you coin that and then just play a 1-drop, it's kind of a waste to only buff one additional minion by +1/+1.
Yeah, Thijs has a hard decision here. He could go for that coin Prince Kaliseth, which is a very appetizing play. The issue is exactly what you said. You don't have follow-up to this play, so if you go coin Prince Kaliseth into life tap and your opponent is just playing minion after minion, that could be very, very bad for you. Especially seeing how xiaOt has Soul Infusion, Voidwalker, but it looks like Thijs is going to take this risk. Just go ahead and play out that Prince Kaliseth and utilize the buff as quickly as possible.
As long as he gets a 1-drop next turn, it should be good enough. And xiaOt with the 3/5, which can come onto the board and have taunt, is actually so powerful in the mirror. It can take 2, maybe even 3 value trades because he has this Fungal Enchanter to heal it up on the next turn. I do not see how he could ever pass up on this. He can even curve out with Happy Ghoul with the Fungal next turn. And this is a hand to maybe beat a Kaliseth hand, if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, so what I actually really like here is I would like to see xiaOt just pass this turn and not even swing anywhere with the 2/1, not trade and not take the face damage, and just kind of tell Thijs that he needs to have, some kind of, he needs to have, a way to he would have to life tap this turn. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. But with the face hit, you do leave yourself vulnerable to Happy Ghoul coming out. Whereas if you just had passed that turn, you'd force Thijs to life tap, and then you can just take a value trade and do the Fungal Enchanter. So I don't quite like the hit, but, not going to get punished for it here, as there is no way to enable that Happy Ghoul.
That is quite next level, not even going for the face hit there, kind of cosplaying, playing around an even lock, and you don't want their Hook Reaver to come down. But yeah, you really explained that well, and I definitely see the argument for it. Having 2 damage this early on wouldn't make too much of a difference. But now that he's started the damage, you have no choice but to keep it going, and this board from xiaOt on turn 3 is looking kind of insurmountable, even with a Kaliseth buff.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that, Kaliseth in the hand, but Thijs is just having a really rough time, especially not being able to really combat these minions right now. Just kind of is forced to play out this doubling imp just to put something on the board. And right now, if xiaOt wants to do so, knowing that the next best play next turn is just, a Serenite Chain Gang that's potentially buffed up, could just keep playing onto the board and just keep wailing away. I think value trades need to come out here if he does go for the Serenite Chain Gang, however. But, he can just push a lot of damage face, and this game could end very quickly.
I definitely like just the 1 value trade there, because even if the Doubling Imp gets a trade onto one of the Sirenites, you can still trade away your Kobold Librarian. And if that is, he even needs to do so. xiaOt is presenting, 15 damage on board with Life Drinker. That's 18. Thijs is at 19. He'll probably heal with the Voodoo Doctor. And I'm actually really surprised to see this trade from xiaOt come out. I feel like he really needed to push his advantage there, but most of the time this should still be enough, I think, even with the double Happy Ghoul coming out from Thijs this turn.
Yeah, I think more so the reason xiaOt went for that trade is he was worried about the potential for a Fungal Enchanter Happy Ghoul turn from Thijs. I think as long as he trades there, he's fine, because this board is insurmountable for Thijs, and there's not much that Thijs really can do besides kind of Hail Mary this Solarium. He needs to find something here. 5-drop isn't it? That's a bit of a start, but that's not what he was looking for.
Those are quite awful indeed. Those are 2 of the best cards that you need to discard. And nothing that's playable along with this Void Walker. Thijs doesn't really want to be soul infusioning his Fungal Mancer, but he doesn't really have the choice at this point. And I gotta say that the coining out of the Kel'Thuzad really came back to bite Thijs there, not having a good play to follow it up. It's also that it gave xiaOt more room to play around, or to not have to play around Fungal Mancer. You see on turn 4 there, he could have maybe gone face because the coin Fungal Mancer wasn't a possibility at that point.
Yeah, and Thijs thought there long and hard about whether he wanted to use the Soul Infusion there to buff up this Fungal Mancer. I think he has to, just for the reason that he's not going to live long enough to be able to buff up the Chain Gang and play it in the next couple of turns. I think he needs this Fungal Mancer to be more impactful when it does hit the board, but it's very unfortunate the Soul Infusion went onto the Fungal Mancer and not the Chain Gang for the next couple of turns.
And xiaOt is unfortunately healthy, so this Life Drinker is not going to actually activate the Happy Ghouls. I'm not surprised to see this Solarium at all. Doesn't quite have the mana to play a 5-drop, which is unfortunate, but he at least hits a 1 and a 3. And the doubling Imp doesn't have space at the moment, but of course xiaOt can trade off his Kobold Librarian to make room.
Yeah, I think xiaOt was really searching for that second Fungal Enchanter there, as that would have just been game-ending in and of itself. But, you know, he still has a very strong board state, and he's already seen one of the Despicable Dreadlords discarded from Thijs. If I remember correctly, Thijs does play 2 of the Dreadlords. He does. He was expecting more Odd Paladins in the tournament, so this is a bit of a risk.
That's right. So Thijs now, even though the Fungal Mancer looks like it creates 2 monstrous minions, they're only actually able to clear 2 things. So I think Thijs is forced to play down the Saturday Chain Gang. It's quite good in the sense that only one of the minions can get value traded, because I assume he'll put his 4/4 into the Void Walker. And then Thijs can also heal it back up with the Voodoo Doctor.
Yeah, it appears to be Thijs' only sort of play. If he goes for the Fungal Mancer here, pretty sure he may just be dead on the follow-up. I mean, even if he's not, there's just way too much damage presented. So I definitely think it has to be that Serenite Chain Gang plus the Voodoo Doctor. Still a decent way to fight back for the board, but we can see xiaOt will have plenty of refill for the next couple turns.
Yeah. And one consolation for Thijs is that right now xiaOt doesn't have anything to buff his minions, so that one Serenite might be able to eat 2 minions, whereas the other one stalls the Happy Ghoul. I can see a world where Thijs can maybe come back, but it's very unlikely. Like, xiaOt's next few draws have to be just completely dead.
And with that Fungal Enchanter, I would say that's probably the opposite of dead. You can take a value trade, fit in a life tap. That was a very strong draw. That's what xiaOt was going for earlier on when he went for that Solarium, was just trying to draw this card.
I think this is pretty much lights out for Thijs. Even though he gets to land this Fungal Mancer, there's just too much damage onto the board. Even if he were to draw a Despicable Dreadlord, xiaOt set up his board in a way to not be vulnerable to that at all.
Yeah, if xiaOt wants to, he can even go for trades to play around this Fungal Mancer, which I'm not opposed to. I think the trades are very strong here, and as long as your opponent doesn't have a board in the Zealot Mirror, there's no real way they can win the game. So these 2 trades do look very nice. Also forces that 4/3 into the 2/1, rather than the 3/1 going into it.
I think no matter which avenue xiaOt takes, he will be fine here, but he just wants to make sure that any little piece of healing that Thijs can put together will not be enough for him here. So best thing Thijs can do is just to play down this doubling Imp. If he had picked up maybe something like a Soulfire, he could have prevented a little bit more damage, but this will just be game with the Life Drinker and the 12 points of damage on board.
Yeah, and if it wasn't game already, the Soulfire off the top makes it super game, and xiaOt is going to go up to a quick 1-0.
There you go. xiaOt takes down the mirror. One of what might be a couple more mirrors in the future. The steepled finger stance, that's a personal favorite of mine in terms of like the focus stance as far as Hearthstone play goes, at least. And the very next matchup will be indeed a Tempo Mage versus Zoo.
I really like this keep from Thijs. Decided to go for the Fungal Enchanter along with the Happy Ghoul because he knows he's most likely going to be damaged in some form or fashion, so he will be able to heal up and get that minion down. Having the combination 2 is really strong. I would have liked for Thijs to maybe consider keeping the Soul Infusion. I'm a big proponent of keeping Soul Infusion in a lot of matchups. I think it's a very, very strong card, especially if the leftmost minion is something like a 1-drop. You can buff it up and take so many value trades in a Tempo Mage that it really, really helps. So I would have liked Thijs to consider that, but I can't blame him for wanting to have some kind of 1-drop instead of the Soul Infusion.
Yeah, the 1-drop Flame Imp is very crucial to contest Mana Worm, although I would be more inclined to hard mulligan for it if you're going first. So Thijs did see, though, that xiaOt missed the Mana Worm on 1, which is a very welcome sight for him. Thijs also picks up a way to damage himself on turn 1, which is really important, so that now he's able to coin out the Fungal and Happy Ghoul. If he didn't get that Kobold, xiaOt would have just played this 2-drop, and Thijs would have to hold back a turn. Oh my gosh!
Oh, that is, Thijs fans are really just going wild in the crowd right now, as that was the best draw he could have had.
And xiaOt now is going to have to hope for this Cosmic Anomaly to come off the top of his deck soon. But will he even have the time for that? That is a 5-mana play with the Shooting Star. Okay, Kirin Tor is a good start. It can at least stave off the next minion that Thijs puts down.
It does stave off the minion that Thijs puts down. Also will be able to, kind of contest the board. And if you thought it couldn't get worse for xiaOt, Thijs has really shown you that it can't get worse. It can get much worse.
Think again. So xiaOt now is going to have to face off a massive board from Thijs. The Kirin Tor cannot take any value trades. And because of that, I wouldn't be surprised to just see Thijs push most of this damage phase. I would like to see the value trade onto the Arcanologist. But, all right. So he's going to respect the Kirin Tor. I guess because it can value trade into the Khaliseth. That's fair.
I think it's also the fact that Thijs is so far ahead right now that he's going to be able to play turn after turn of minions, that the only real way he loses this game is if he gets cheated out by some kind of crazy primordial glyph turn into something else. So I think he understands that the only way he loses this game right now is if that Kirin Tor connects face and then xiaOt cheeses out the win with the primordial glyph.
Okay, that is the Cosmic Anomaly off the Arcane Intellect, which I was very happy to see that xiaOt played the Intellect. I feel like he had to, and hope that one of these missiles hits the Happy Ghoul. Okay, that is a very good comeback for xiaOt, and Thijs, who no doubt will play a Chain Gang this turn, will have 3 of these minions eaten up by the Shooting Star. And I would like to see xiaOt aim it at the Khaliseth so that the 3-attack minion doesn't survive and take a free trade into the Cosmic Anomaly.
You can just see Thijs just get visibly distressed as soon as that Cosmic Anomaly came down. Snap play. And I think he knew what was happening. But right now, this Cosmic Anomaly living is so bad for Thijs.
Yeah, this is just insane how xiaOt was able to pull it back. Very fortunate missiles, I gotta say. But he has the Alaneth to follow up. But I don't think he necessarily plays it next turn if he at least gets a cheap spell to go with the Arcanologist next turn. Because Thijs has the opportunity to go for another Chain Gang. If you're Thijs, I don't think you have the liberty to play around a second Shooting Star at this point.
I don't think so either. And in xiaOt's position, I wouldn't be surprised to actually see him slam down that Alunith, as he will be able to get card advantage over Thijs and be able to try and end the game through burn. Because right now, if Thijs has to life tap over and over, xiaOt will be able to fit these fireballs in on the face and try and end the game that way. But of course, this all depends on, what does xiaOt draw for turn. If he draws something like that Shooting Star, then it could change up his play.
For sure. And Thijs, it's a decision of whether to play the Voodoo Doctor or the Voidwalker with this. I definitely prefer the Voodoo Doctor because it has more attack to challenge this Cosmic Anomaly if xiaOt spends the time removing this. So because the spell is not too great, or the draw for xiaOt is not too great, I do also endorse just slamming the Aluneth now.
I think xiaOt is just thinking about, what can he afford to do here? And it looks like, you know, he's got plays of his own, wants to go for that draw, really wants to find that shooting star.
Oh, not quite.
I think in xiaOt's head that he thought the only way for him to win this game, or the best way to get back in this game, was to find that shooting star. So it makes sense that he went for the play that he did. And to be honest, he still can draw it. He has the second Cosmic Anomaly now. We'll be able to find it potentially in the next couple of turns.
It will mean, though, that Thijs has this window to start pushing back against xiaOt. He is only on one card, so Thijs is forced to tap, but he has a lot of health to work with, whereas xiaOt is only at 18 now. So Thijs needs to just get a little bit more minion damage there. Tar Creeper, pretty decent draw.
Yeah, I'd like to see both these minions come out here. I don't think there's too much merit to going for the Solarium, as it is a proc for counterspell that may mean that the final damage can be pushed with a Soulfire. And also, you know, the Solarium maybe on a potential draw of a Leroy or, I'm sorry, a Doomguard would push Thijs over the edge. I think just getting more minions on the board now is pretty strong.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think Thijs has no reason to trade into this Arcanologist, as he is behind 2 taunts now. He's just thinking about the right positioning for a possible second Cosmic and Shooting Star. And you can see that half of that combo is available to xiaOt. And if he doesn't get that or some kind of glyph out, I don't think it's looking too good for our Chinese player here.
Yeah, xiaOt's going to need something here. Could potentially get that Alunith down, but he could just be dead, especially if all of this damage gets pushed face.
Yeah, Thijs will be presenting 9 damage next turn at the minimum, and xiaOt at 13 means that Thijs only needs a Fungal Enchanter or a Soulfire to finish off the game, unless xiaOt clears minions.
I mean, xiaOt may be forced just to go Sorcerer's Apprentice, Fireball, and Explosive Runes just to try and fight for this board back somehow.
I guess it means Kirintor plus Fireball then, and then the Secret in that case. It's just sad that the Arcanologist cannot clear anything without the help of a ping.
That is true. The Kirintor would be much better now that it's been drawn. So, you know.
xiaOt just doesn't have a choice, though. You do not have the Alaneth here.
Yeah, I definitely think this has to be the play. Can't save that Sorcerer's Apprentice for later since the Kirintor got picked up. He's probably thinking about maybe potentially just playing out something else and just pinging. Looks like he wants to go for like a half measure.
It is actually kind of smart because the Tar Creeper is only presenting as much damage as the Siren Knight would have been. But, oh my gosh, with the Soulfire, Thijs is so close to lethal now. Of course, he doesn't know whether the spell is Counterspell or Explosive Runes. Gonna take his time, but I'm pretty sure the turn starts with a tap, no matter what.
I think so as well. Thijs is just considering here, is there any way he gets extremely punished by, you know, life tapping and putting himself lower? I definitely think you have to go for it right now. You're still at a pretty comfortable life total. Oh, it looks like he's going to go for it first. Looks like he wants the life tap after the fact in order to make sure any minion he draws, he doesn't necessarily have to play or will discard.
Yeah, I mean, the play makes sense if you are fully sure that you want to Soulfire this turn, but seeing that it wasn't lethal, even if the spell isn't a counter spell, I would have liked to see the tap first. Of course, that is kind of being a little bit results-oriented, as we can see Fungal Enchanter would have been the draw, but I also think minions like Despicable Dreadlord would have been okay, or not necessarily, since it's Explosive Runes. Maybe like a Doomguard off the top.
But now, because Thijs went for that, you know, unorthodox sequencing of plays, didn't really want to try and commit to discarding the minion. If he had life tapped into, say, this minion, and then he still went for the Soul Infusion, Soulfire play. Right now, xiaOt can go Cosmic Anomaly, Frostbolt the Voodoo Doctor, and then ping the 2-1. And as for him, Thijs shouldn't have an answer unless it is that one of Doomguard or potentially Despicable Dreadlord. Maybe the second, Soulfire as well.
I was thinking if xiaOt maybe even had to go for a full board clear. You do forego playing the Cosmic Anomaly that way, though. So this definitely looks better. And Thijs again is 2 off lethal here. So given that he soulfired the first Kirin Tor, I assume that he'll want to soulfire this Cosmic Anomaly as well. So this will be the sequencing so that he doesn't discard what he gets off the tap.
He is going to take quite a bit of damage from that explosive runes, though.
Oh, Solarium is the draw off the top. xiaOt does have Counterspell, but I'm not sure how concerned he will be with playing it. The turn will definitely include a Fireball, though, so with the remaining mana.
He might as well.
Yep.
When counterspelling the Solarium, that is huge right now. The Solarium was an impressive draw, but if he gets this counterspell down, I mean, you have to Fireball that minion, don't you? It feels so bad.
And I can't help but think if the game would have turned out differently if xiaOt had just slammed the Aluneth on that turn. He would have had 1 less minion at some point because of the Arcanologist not being played, but I feel like the draw would essentially have been the same. I mean, because he gave up the Aluneth play just to fit in an Arcane Intellect with the Arcanologist. Would have drawn so much more instead. So he actually went face with the Fireball, which surprises me to no end. I mean,
yeah, I'm a little bit curious as to that. Oh, but Thijs just whiffs on Doomguard or any source of damage.
Oh my gosh. And if he taps here, he's scared of dying to some sort of Fireball combination.
I mean, I think if you're Thijs here, you just have to play out the minions. I don't think you can really afford to life tap because you're exactly right. Double Fireball plus ping is just lethal at that point.
Yeah, Thijs's only outs there for lethal, I think, was Doomguard exactly because he played 2 Fungal Enchanter and 2 Soulfire already. So I really don't think it was worth going for the tap now. But xiaOt has not a lethal out yet, but that's not Primordial Glyph. I was gonna say he had a glyph out. He can try to get it with this Thalnos and ping off the Thalnos. He needs something like Frost Nova.
So he needs to go Stargazer Luna, play out the 3/2, and the majority of his draws are very cheap. And I think he has to go for it now.
Yeah,
and there's still glyphs in the pool. Ooh. That's...
I think you should start with the Arcane Missiles, just because you really need the glyph. And the mana on this Thalnos is a little bit too expensive.
Yeah, I'm a little curious to think about, xiaOt's ordering behind this play, but, he's going to hit a couple of those...
Whoa, wait.
Oh, Mana Worm needs to be a glyph. He needs to go quick.
That is not it, though. He has 1 more draw off the top. Has the other Frostball been played? Oh my gosh.
Oh, does he have enough time to get it off through?
Oh no! Oh my goodness, that was really tense. He managed to get it through, but Thijs will know that anything except the Ice Barrier would save him here. So he's just gonna take the attack phase, I think. Oh wait, no, yeah, this is 100% with the fatigue.
It's 100%. I like how Thijs recognized that.
Yes.
Even in that moment, Thijs realized that there was no reason to take the risk of trying to, attack into something that could have been Ice Barrier. That was very...
I've seen these mirrors go to a point where players just don't play any minions at all when they have the read on explosive runes, because your opponent, if you trigger that, then you let your opponent play the second runes, and you just essentially wasted mana on playing minions. So this is the mirror coming up, and the builds are a little bit different. Thijs has the 2 of Amani Berserker in place of only 1 Arcane Intellect.
Oh, and xiaOt just has the hand of hands right now. Thijs full toss trying to find some kind of 1-drop or 2-drop could have potentially kept the Frostbolt, but I think that's too defensive of a play. But right now, Xiaoti had the Mana Worm. Xiaoti has access to a Lunith. This is looking really good for him right now.
Yeah. Funnily enough, it's not necessarily the Mana Worm gonna get too much work done here if Xiaoti doesn't pick up something like a Glyph or a Frost Ball. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was looking like Xiaoti would just play down the Arcanologist there. Glyph is looking pretty tasty right now, though. If you just take any cheap spell off the Glyph, then you can get the value trade with the Mana Worm, and that's already so powerful in the matchup.
I think it has to be Glyph here. I mean, the 2-3 is fairly strong. You do get through to those secrets quicker, but you really want this Mana Worm to put in more work, especially if you expect Thijs to go for a 3-drop plus the... If you expect him to go for a 3-drop plus the Kirin Tor next turn, you really want this Mana Worm to value trade.
Yeah, and Xiaoti forced to coin out a secret there. It's not the greatest use of coin, but it just allows him to take control of the board, forcing Thijs to ping off the Mana Worm. And I do believe he took Vaporize because Ice Barrier is pretty useless in this matchup when you're the one ahead on board.
Yeah, Thijs just going to ping that away. That is a very passive turn from him. He was essentially forced to with how the hands panned out. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Xiaoti just get that Arcanologist finally down.
There is an argument for going Arcane Intellect to maximize mana usage, but that would mean that the turn 4 play is likely it's just a secret, which doesn't feel great. So I do like just having the minion and taking the board control while you're the one who has a secret on board.
Yeah, the minion also contests any kind of play that Thijs may have, and you get it down before explosive runes. For instance, if Thijs is forced to try and tempo out one of the minions, it could contest something like the Kirin Tor or the Cosmic Anomaly. Plus, just getting the body down is always good because it will be able to get continuous damage in.
So Thijs here is very afraid of the possibility of a spell-based secret. This is something off the Glyph, so it could be crazy things like Mana Bind and Spellbender, not just your usual counter spell and explosive runes. So Thijs plays his explosive runes, conceding that if it's a counter spell, I'd rather get rid of this.
This is not looking the greatest for Thijs right now, as we do see Xiaoti has access to that Alunith. We'll be able to play that in the next couple of turns.
And you expect Thijs to just play down the second explosive runes. I don't think there's any spell on turn 5 that you necessarily want to counter. It's not likely that the Cinderstorm actually clears this Arcanologist.
Yeah, I think you're Thijs here. You probably have to commit to the explosive runes. Just try and stop any kind of crazy shenanigans from Xiaoti's side, especially if he wants to try and tempo out some kind of Cosmic Anomaly or something like that. But Thijs has something different in mind. He really wants to counterspell something. It may be, if Xiaoti has access to Arcane Intellect, it could be something like that Thijs is really hoping to hit here.
Thijs is now aware that the Glyph secret is not something like Mana Bind or Spellbender. Mana Bind or Counterspell, though, so that does remove a lot of the mystery shrouding this. Xiaoti, however, has not seen second explosive rune, so I wouldn't hate him starting off the turn with the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah, I think the Sorcerer's Apprentice is a strong consideration. Just kind of, test the waters, and if you do see that it is something like a counterspell, you could decide to not play the Arcane Intellect. But I don't even think that Xiaoti minds if the Arcane Intellect gets counterspelled because he does have access to that Alunith.
Thijs himself now, I do think he knows it's not explosive runes, right? Because he did play a minion, and there was an explosive runes that was procced while he had the other secret on board.
Yes.
So that's why he's fine to go for this Cosmic Anomaly and Shooting Star play. He's also eliminated Spellbender from the pool.
Yeah, he knows right now that it's something that procs when being attacked on the face, that it could be something like Vaporize or Ice Barrier. So I'm curious to see how Thijs decides to navigate this, knowing that there is a potential line of it being that Vaporize, and I don't think he wants his 4-3 to be killed off quite yet.
Yeah, I think Thijs just might not attack for the next couple turns. He takes a Spellbender of his own, I think this Arcanologist is not going to be drawing anything for him, which is a little bit unfortunate. The hand from Thijs is looking kind of light, kind of early to start chucking all this damage face, but is this Cinderstorm getting any better?
I think Thijs may have to hold on to it in the hopes of Cinderstorm being able to clear up some of the minions, because right now he doesn't quite have, removal. And if, Thijs clears this board, if xiaOt clears the board state and develops minions behind it, he'll need this Cinderstorm and, all of these cards in order to clear up the board state.
Thijs there gets a pretty good glyph option in the Arcane Intellect. He severely needed card draw there, so that's a welcome sight for him, but I am doubtful of whether he can outpace the Alaneth, and wow, I am really not sure about this attack. I think from everything that Thijs has played, he would be able to rule out everything except Vaporize and Ice Barrier, and in both cases, if you just attack into an Ice Barrier, you're essentially giving your opponent 4 health, right? It's likely that xiaOt would be able to just clear the Cosmic Anomaly following. So I'm not a big fan of the attack there.
The attack was definitely a calculated risk on Thijs's part. He may have felt as if he's so far behind right now that he has to hope it's the Ice Barrier and then hope the Spellbender is enough to keep this Cosmic Anomaly alive. Because if he doesn't get those attacks in, then he may never win the game.
That is true. xiaOt is just drawing 3 more cards than Thijs does every single turn, and he's nowhere close to fatiguing. So xiaOt here has the option to start chucking away these spells, but I definitely like the hold when he still has this Cosmic Anomaly in hand. He can just put out insane amounts of damage next turn.
That is quite a bit of damage, now that I'm looking at it. Cosmic Anomaly, double missiles, Cinderstorm, Fireball, Frostbolt, you name it, all of it's going face.
Oh man, 3 missiles going face for Thijs there. That was really unlucky. But even if he cleared the whole board state, I don't think it was looking too good for him as well. xiaOt, he only knows that it's not a summoning-based secret, so he eliminates Explosive Runes and Frozen Clone.
This is looking really good for xiaOt here. I don't think Thijs can really do anything about this. And the Shooting Star, even though it hits a Spellbender, will be able to clear out both the minions.
That is pretty sad indeed, and I expect Thijs to be conceding after this turn. Even though he's not technically dead on board, there's just so much burn that you expect xiaOt to be holding in hand after this point. So if Thijs gets Glyph, he might hold on a bit, but
I don't think there's much holding on, especially with double Fireball. There's nothing that Thijs can do here. xiaOt is going to go up 2-1.
And that is very scary for Thijs, but he needs to be aware that the Odd Hunter is the last deck for xiaOt, and that is the deck that Thijs knows that he can prey on. So it's not completely hopeless for him yet. And we know Thijs to be a great player, definitely going to keep a level head despite this deficit in game points. We are going to game 4 real soon. Has a good chance with the amounts of armor you can gain. Not quite as much as Taunt Druid, but sometimes it can just get there when you have an early Malfurion.
And there we see xiaOt is 1 game away from taking home an Aston Martin. And Thijs right now, looking a little distressed, does not want to give, what chat has been calling his car up.
And this is a pretty good hand to keep the car in your side of the field. Just toss away the Malagos. The rest of it looks pretty solid to me.
I do like tossing the Malagos, keeping that Twig, keeping that Wild Growth, even that Spellstone. And Thijs feels like this matchup is, so detrimental that he doesn't want to keep the Twig, that he feels like he can't afford to get through all those swings, that he'd rather find either a Branching Paths or a Nourish, just something like that to keep the sustain going.
So quite an interesting choice from Thijs there. But let's see if it pays off. It did throw back a Nourish in its place, so that is something. But even though you get all the ramp in the world in this matchup, I feel like you need some kind of armor at some point. Just being able to play out your Lich King super early won't necessarily get there.
And xiaOt was really thinking on that first turn about what kind of one-drop he wanted to go for there. The Direwolf is much stronger against something like Spellstone, but the Direwolf also will be an enabler for the kill commands later on, so he may have been thinking about whether he needed to hold on to that or not. And now xiaOt is presented the decision whether he starts to weave the hero power in or if he goes wide with these minions. I definitely think he should be playing the minions, but there is some consideration for trying to weave in that hero power every turn.
Yeah, it's just a matter of whether he thinks these things can deal more damage to the face, and it's quite early to be playing around spreading plate, so I can definitely respect going wide with the minions, but from this turn onward, I do think it's going to be a bunch of infinite frost bolts to the face.
Yeah, I think the frost bolts are coming. Unfortunately, they don't freeze Theis' face, but they definitely deal 3 damage, and I think that's all xiaOt right now.
Blackwalled Pixie is the draw. Honestly, I would rather see the hero power than that.
Me too.
I mean, we do see that there's a swipe in hand that could punish it, but even though Theis or xiaOt can't necessarily see it, there's just other things that Theis can do to remove, like the Spellstone. And later on, you can use the Pixie for an extra 3 damage. Theis can go coin Nourish into next turn Nourish and the turn after UI. But how much time does he have?
I think he's got to go for it. I don't think he necessarily has the most time, but if he doesn't do this now, when is he ever going to do it? Could decide to hero power down, but it looks like Theis is playing so defensively that he just wants to get rid of one of those Fireflies.
Yeah. It's looking like the next turn is Nourish Ramp again and then Swipe, so I can definitely see why he wants to fit in the mana for the Spellstone here now. And xiaOt, we ain't in this game to play around Plague, Dr. J. We're in this game to push damage to the face.
He said, you know what? If you've got Plague, you've got it right now. I am just trying to Firefly my way to an Aston Martin.
Yes. Lead these 1-attack minions leading you straight to the car there. And Theis, with a pickup of Ferocious Howl, is able to get some armor back, quite a hefty chunk after the UI. But he needs to just make sure that he can get there. So I still think it's Nourish and Swipe this turn.
Yeah, the Ferocious Howl is much stronger after the fact of a UI because you will be able to draw that many cards in order to make the Ferocious Howl gain more armor. The question is, does he feel so threatened now that he needs to go for it and he decides to go for it? Alexstrasza will be able to heal himself back up if he gets too low.
xiaOt's draws have been pretty bad here, and he does not want to respect the UI. Not that he could have really played anything else this turn, but I do think there might have been an argument for holding back the Pixie for exactly turn 7. Since you saw that Theis has been ramping so aggressively and could probably put him on having UI. Yeah,
here's xiaOt right here. You really want to find Animal Companion into Leok because that pushes a lot of damage. I mean, I guess Puffer would also do the same amount of damage, but xiaOt is going to need something here as he finally starting to lose the board a little bit.
The funny thing is, even if Theis takes both these minions, Unleash gets significantly better for xiaOt. He can even put down a Floop, and that gives xiaOt 4 points of damage out of nowhere.
All right, but the crazy thing about this is Theis is going to play out all these minions in order to Alexstrasza xiaOt's face and just push counter lethal on the following turn. Theis right now is counting up to see if Unleash the Hounds would be lethal from xiaOt's side.
It's not enough.
I mean, xiaOt may have to respect one of these minions by just trading here.
Yeah. Oh, Hunter's Mark makes things a lot more streamlined for him. He can just remove the 5/5, I think. And I think you take the Unleash while it's available to you.
I agree. I think you go Hunter's Mark, trade off one of the 1/2s, Unleash, and then just fit in all that damage face as much as possible, as the Alexstrasza will not be able to kill you, and you cannot afford to keep trading.
Definitely not. xiaOt there. Okay, I think he has not thought about the Alexstrasza unless he's going to end with the Hunter's Mark, but I see these arrows, and they're all going face, so...
He may just candle shot down the last minion. Oh, but it looks like he's just fitting everything in face.
I think this is just forgetting that Alex Straza is a possible out. And this is a very unconventional lethal from Thijs. But yeah, that is quite the misstep from xiaOt there. So this will just be a lethal out of nowhere, aggroing down the aggro player.
Yeah, I'm a little curious to think about what xiaOt was, because all he had to do was commit the Hunter's Mark.
First place. So it will be this very last game to decide who is taking home Aston. I am so hyped for this. Let's go, Dr. J. Oh my gosh, the hand from Thijs.
If this is a hand to win, this is one of the hands.
The Aston Martin could be crossing an ocean, Dr. J. Candle shot looks pretty solid to me, just because it allows you to clear off minions without taking the damage that other decks don't want to be taking against Tempo Mage. The 2/1 minions do not line up that well against Mana Worm, and if your opponent doesn't have the Mana Worm, though, they do push quite a bit of damage, but I really think xiaOt needs Dire Maul.
This is a very hard choice. I don't blame him for full keeping, as, you know, the candle shot with the deckhand is, you know, very, very important. But it's definitely a hard, close call. xiaOt is going to try and weave in as much damage as possible.
I was thinking he might have to toss away the Acris Veteran, just because if it buffs the deckhand next turn, because you start with candle shot, then the shot plus deckhand would be able to deal with most of the minions from Thijs anyway. So maybe xiaOt could have gone for a better one drop there. Oh man. Oh man. This is looking like xiaOt's hand from the Tempo Mage mirror.
Yeah, this is looking like Thijs is about to walk away with a brand new Aston Martin. That's what this hand is saying to me. But xiaOt is going to put up a fight. Does have some very efficient plays in the next couple of turns. Maybe find something like a Misha in order to stage off some of the damage, or rolls a Leok into one of these 2/3s.
Thijs in the next few turns has his curve pretty much just given to him on a silver platter. And the Huffer there is going to make things a little bit dicey for Thijs, though, because xiaOt and this candle shot are getting a lot of work done.
Does have Kirin Torque counterspell, needs to contest this somehow. Doesn't quite have a clean answer for it. Don't think Thijs really wants to be fireballing a Huffer in defensive purposes. But, you know, it's something to consider.
I think he still has enough health to not have to respect it that much. He also sees that xiaOt is somehow already only on 2, while Thijs has an abundance of resources. And this tracking, even though it had the potential to draw xiaOt's better, is just going to get counterspelled this turn, I believe.
I believe so as well. xiaOt's going to play it, sees this is the counterspell. Most likely going to play out that Dire Maul, swing the face, and hero power. Right now, it's a game of fitting in that hero power every turn, because he knows Thijs will not be able to heal.
xiaOt can deal 7 to the face this turn. I do not know if he wants to trade off the Kirin Tor from the hands. I mean, xiaOt's hand is so light that I think he can't afford to go anywhere but the face.
I definitely agree with that. I think this Huffer has to go face. I think xiaOt's thinking about whether he wants to put this candle shot into the Kirin Tor or not, because if he puts it into the Kirin Tor can't exactly take a value trade into the Dire Maul without dying to the candle shot on the follow-up.
That is fair. So I think xiaOt is already counting many turns into the future. If he puts Thijs at 19 or 18 this turn, then that means Thijs' health is a multiple of 3. So the hero power can technically get there. But because the candle shot has 2 charges, I can definitely see the argument for trying to soften up the Kirin Tor Mage. Is he trading? Oh my gosh. That surprises me to no end.
That is a huge shock to me. I think you have to go face there. I mean, xiaOt has some kind of game plan in mind where he thinks he can win this through just hero powering over and over and keeping this dire mole healthy and alive, because he's probably worried Thijs has some kind of answer.
I could respect the play if xiaOt somehow knew that the hand from was spells and not many minions, because then you can have the board to yourself. But yeah, this is looking really bad for xiaOt now. He's kind of forced to Hunter's Mark away the Kirin, or if he wants to save it for something like a Cosmic Anomaly, I don't think he has the time. He's going to be taking too much damage in the process. So
no, I think he has to go for this as well. He can Ironbeak Owl the Amani Berserker in order to make sure it doesn't deal that much damage. But that, not going face there, I mean, obviously we can see the hands, we can see that there were minions to follow up. But if Thijs were to have some kind of answer to that Huffer and that 4-3 stuck around, it could have been pretty bad for him.
Bear in mind that this Odd Hunter deck doesn't have any natural tracking, which is just one card for one draw. And looking at how xiaOt has to just work off the top of his deck while Thijs can drop a Luneth, I don't think there's any way that xiaOt can push enough damage by that point.
I mean, I think to start with that Eaglehorn bow, that is something. Could just keep pushing this damage face. If Thijs goes for the... I think xiaOt is really hoping that a Luneth isn't there. I think this might actually be closer than we're giving it credit.
Yeah. And with the draw of Luna, this actually might delay the Alaneth from Thijs by one turn, simply because it means he can keep the Amani Berserker alive and still draw a card in the process.
But you're not playing a Luneth here, and that's... Oh, I agree with you. I think Stargazer Luna may be the play here, as you want to present something on the board in order to, you know, constantly keep drawing, because you can just play card after card on the top of your deck. But xiaOt's going to be able to push quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he got another draw there, I think it would be worth it. And it's like the 2 draws plus 4 health and your 4 attack on board, I think, is enough to offset 3 draws from a Luneth. And now...
Oh my gosh. This is so close.
Oh my gosh. The Arcane Shot, I'm not even sure where it goes, because right now, Thijs is at a multiple of 3 health. Eaglehorn also does 3, so technically, the Arcane Shot on its own is not really going to get work done on the face.
I think you go face and you Arcane Shot the 2-2, that way you don't take that much damage,
yeah.
And you can go Hero Power. Oh, this is so crazy, because if you hold on to the Arcane Shot, it makes second Deckhand and out.
Yes.
It makes something like... I'm trying to think of another spell. It makes second Arcane Shot and out. There's no counter spell.
Yeah,
but
there's also Unleash the Hounds, I guess. And, oh my gosh. Okay, as for xiaOt, he also has to think about how much leaving 2 damage on Thijs' side of the board matters. And there's just too many combinations of spells to comprehend that, I think.
I think you have to... He just ships it face!
Yeah, just get in there before the counter spell. Oh, wait, Thijs only has 1 counter spell, right? So, oh my gosh, I don't think there's a way that Thijs can present lethal this turn. He can get Frostball to freeze off xiaOt's face, though. That's not it. So xiaOt is on 1 draw to possibly take home the Aston Martin.
You have to play the explosive here. Yes, you have to. Oh my gosh. Deckhand's not even out anymore.
Yeah, that removes the deckhand out. There's Blackwalled Pixie, there's Unleash, there's second Arcane Shot. That is not it. And I think we have our winner.
If xiaOt had Arcane Shotted the 2-2, he would be at 12 health right now. And Thijs may have not had enough damage to finish this game. Oh,
we could, yeah.
With that, it would have been enough damage, but there was definitely a possibility.
Yes, I got your argument 100%, because he had seen the counterspell onto the tracking already. So that means that he didn't necessarily have to use the Arcane Shot on the turn he did. He could have waited 1 more to see what he got off the top. But anyway, this is not a story of what could have been. This is a story of Thijs winning EU versus CN 2018. Congratulations. You are watching from ThijsNL's own channel. Oh, what a story.
That was absolutely insane. For as crazy as that game was, it's insane to think of how close xiaOt had brought it to potentially winning that game. 1 damage off twice against Thijs this entire tournament in that exact matchup.
Oh, my head is reeling, Dr. J. So many things were hype in that series. Even at the Zoom mirror, we were seeing some incredible play. Not just, it was the Keliseth being overrun in the Tempo Mage mirror. We saw it kind of one-sided, but this is just the aggro player's dream. Coming very down to the wire.
That's crazy. I'm at a loss for words, Gia. I don't know. I wasn't expecting it to be that close. From the opening hand, it just looked like it was Thijs's game.
I have to agree, and just the fact that we were told by our production on the other side, quote-unquote production, to not talk over the host when they're talking. Gotta break that rule. So much to talk about in that series. And I have to say, I am so happy for Thijs. Very well deserved. He's been looking for a big tournament win for quite some time now, because a lot of people after 2015 were saying, oh, he's focusing more on streaming now. But Thijs has consistently qualified for playoffs, and he still got it as a player. And now he has the car to prove it.
Yeah, that is definitely Thijs's car. You saw him there. They gave him the keys to the Aston Martin. I get the sign the screen.
This is awesome. Now we all have Thijs's autograph.
Yeah, now drive it away, Thijs. Drive it away. Just drive it off the set. You got a long drive back home.
So epic. I wonder if they made all of the players rehearse the possible driving it off the stage, but I don't have the space to do that.
No, definitely. He starts driving that, he's going straight to the crowd. That's
yeah, driving straight to jail.
It was the first time and the only time he got to drive the.
Oh my gosh.
But congratulations to Thijs. He really deserves it. He does a lot for the community. He has a great community for his streaming, and also just a phenomenal player himself, and obviously a great guy. So I'm really glad he won this tournament.
Yeah, bear in mind that it was Thijs's own idea to have this English broadcast at all. Originally, there wasn't supposed to be one, just the Chinese broadcast, but he put it together with G2 and the help of his manager, and we have this community project to show you guys just how amazing the whole story was. Thijs takes home the Aston Martin, and xiaOt